Well, joining us now is Shobana Kamineni, newly appointed President of the Confederation of Indian Industry. Thank you very much for joining us on NDTV. Congratulations, of course, on being appointed the first woman president of the Confederation of Indian Industry. And I have to say, I take a great deal of pleasure in that. Congratulations.
Thank you very much, Manvi. I think it's a great honor and a responsibility. I'll live up to it.
So let's talk about the priorities that the Confederation of Indian Industry has set for itself, this year with you as president. What are the priorities?
So my theme is about India together. India inclusive, ahead and responsible. And I think it moves away from what people used to talk about is just competitiveness or globalization, because industry cannot be divorced from the way they interact with the government. It has to be a partnership. It has to be a partnership with civil societies, with media. And I think together is what we can build a stronger nation. Also, industry understands that it cannot be a wealth creator and not be inclusive and not be responsible. So I think this is what we're trying to, and I think these were whispers. This didn't come out of the blue. There were whispers earlier. CII will now shout it out.
You talked about partnership with government, trust between industry and government. Now, the government, the cabinet has approved the bad loan ordinance to tackle the NPA problem in India's banking system. And I'm wondering if there's some degree of trepidation with which Indian industry is viewing this development.
I think that there's a certain degree of relief, because we believe that the 50 needed, I think they're 50 odd, but there's 6 lakh crores blocked. So that is actually, that was stopping the entire pipeline and the confidence of credit offtake. So once that debottlenecks, and really the willful defaulters should be looked at. And I think that the way they look at this individually, the only thing that we realize, it cannot be one person's decision, and we look forward to seeing what the ordinance comes out with. It has to be a multiplicity of players, and it was great news for us this morning to hear this.
Which brings me to business confidence levels. Now, I know that CII, or the Confederation of Indian Industry, does a structured study on confidence levels. How do they look right now, business confidence levels?
We did the recent business confidence index, and among our membership, actually, it is very high. And I think that there's seriousness about it, because we're seeing that two-wheelers are have started moving up. We're looking at in actual growth terms, this FMCG is starting to move up, and we're seeing this in many sectors. But we, more than anything, we think that the government's decisions. See, if you see that last year the expenditure in infrastructure 13% more than anything else in history. And when we start talking about 20 million homes that will be constructed, you're talking about a serious number of jobs, Bharatmala, Sagarmala. And I think that this kind of unprecedented investment should reflect and will kickstart, especially when they debottleneck the other NPAs.
So the national steel policy has also been approved by the cabinet, and of course, while it sets ambitious targets for capacity, for production, one clause also talks about preference to domestic steel manufacturers in government tenders. Now, I was very interested in the response statement that came from one of India's largest steel companies, which said that, this is a noteworthy step forward, but the government must also address the supply side issues in a sector like steel.
I think when we really talk supply side, we should not forget that the best move of debottlenecking is GST. That is going to move things across borders. And yes, maybe there will be one or two finer points which I really am not an expert in steel to talk about, but I think that largely, from the industry perspective, goods and services are going to move way more freely. And from the supply side of, when they're talking about the steel industry, I'm a bit surprised, because when you're talking about all this kind of construction, steel is a fundamental component. So would predict that steel prices, just as cement prices, have strengthened in the southern states.
Let's talk about the protectionism that we see in many markets across the world, not the least in the United States. Is that a must manage on your to-do list this year as CII president?
I think that last year it was a black swan event when they spoke about, Trump, Brexit, all these. This year we're in a management mode, and we do have the levers, and fundamentally among them is a strong domestic demand that we will continue to open up our markets to others, and the reciprocity of us expecting their markets to open up. With regard to the IT sector in particular, I think we have to look at it, in a way more nuanced way of even the way the IT sector is moving. Layer in AI, layer in big data, deep machine learning, and once we reskill also our people, and you do this mixture, because long term, I really think that once you've got connected to a global world, you don't fully want to go back.
So I'm circling back to your appointment as president CII, the first woman president of CII. I want you to reflect a little bit in real terms the position that women are occupying in boardrooms, in top management teams, just in the business workplace per se.
Thank you for that question. I would have felt disappointed if I didn't get it. But, we did this, if you've read the McKinsey study that talks about the parity index, there's the ability that women, if they join the workforce, can actually contribute 700 billion to India's GDP. And I think this is such a doable thing. So what we are doing, what I'm doing also, is CII's I-Win network, where we're looking at urban women in jobs. What can we do to push the needle, to create parity and help train them? We're looking at urban women to get them more inclusive, create new job opportunities. And I think all these, that it's not just us doing it, but it's an idea that's time has come, because the government again has so many, Ujjwala, they have so many schemes that they've announced, and we will push them to do. So me being there at this time is very fortunate.
In our conversation today, we've talked about the progress that the government is making on many policy fronts. But if you had to make 3 representations to the government in your capacity as president of CII, what would figure on your list?
So, Manvi, I'm flipping that question. India together, and my KRA is 1% more growth. So, to achieve that 1% growth, which will be together, I think that the way they've addressed NPA, GST, fantastic. We do think that they have to equalize corporate taxes and bring everybody to 25%, ultimately remove all exemptions, take it to 18%, continue to move the needle on jobs and job creation. These are my top 4 while we're working for women and improving society.
Well, I look forward to taking stock with you regularly on the progress made on all of those fronts. Shobana Kamineni, congratulations once again on being appointed the first woman president of CII. And thank you for your time here on NDTV.
Thank you. Thank you very much.